All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fittest. I'm super excited to have IFBB Pro Kate Errington here with me today. How are you doing?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been following you for at least a year since the last Olympia, and your Instagram is so interesting, your job, and you've recently had some health issues I think we're going to touch on a little bit, but I'm so glad that you're doing well now, correct?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been an interesting journey.
It's so funny because we were going over some of the Olympia qualifiers, and somebody had mentioned how you tend to have like issues, like there's one thing after another. You've had a lot of struggles, have you not?
Yeah, the last couple of years in particular have been pretty testing, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? We all go through things in life. Don't think it ever stops. Just sometimes some things are a little worse than others, and yeah, you just kind of got to just deal with it. So yeah, the last probably 2 years I think in particular have been quite difficult, but yep, is what it is.
Perfect. All right. Well, the question that I usually start with is what kind of sports did you play growing up, if anything? And she's like, nope. And what got you into bodybuilding? So can you kind of cover some of that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think English people don't really do a lot of sports, not the way Americans do at all. We're not really pushed into sport, I don't think. Obviously, I do know some people do, but I danced since I was a kid. That was kind of my sport, I guess, since the age of like 4, and took it pretty seriously, especially when I turned 9. That's when I became really serious with dancing, singing, acting, things like that. And I used to compete in ballroom and Latin from the age of like 4 to 9, maybe from 5 to 9. Started in disco dancing. I don't know if you have that in America. So yeah, started in competitive disco dancing, then ballroom and Latin, and that's probably why I'm so competitive. And then yeah, danced sort of since then, and accidentally stumbled into bodybuilding. I was working as a dancer and a performer, and my friend Claire, she's actually a figure IFBB pro now, but doesn't compete anymore. She was always into fitness, and she was like, oh, we need a stilt walker and a dancer for this event. And it happened to be a bodybuilding contest in England. And I was like, cool, no worries. And we were performing, and our changing room was where all the bikini competitors were. And I remember I'd started doing some like aerial hoop and a bit of pole dancing for fun. And I'd really noticed a change in my upper body. Obviously, I'd always been pretty slim because of dancing, but I really noticed that my upper body was looking a bit more like muscular and shapely. And I looked at the bikini girls and said to my friend Claire, that looks achievable. I reckon I could do that. And she was like, yeah, for sure. Like, you should try it one day. And then it literally became a New Year's resolution to take part in that same contest the following year. But I didn't sort of start preparing for it until, yeah, the January. So January came around and the competition was in April. And I joined a gym in the January for the first time and did the competition in April. And then I won out of like 30 girls. And I did all the dieting and stuff by myself. Obviously, I had like advice from people, my friends, and online, but I prepped myself for it, and yeah, ended up winning. And kind of from there, I just never really stopped.
That's That's so awesome. So how old were you when you won this competition? How old were
So it was 2014. I don't want to give away my age because I lie about my age. I say that I'm 28, but I've been 28 for a few years now. So, yeah, it was 2014. So I was like 23 or 24, something like that.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So I guess, yeah, kind of just got into it. And then 2 weeks later, someone contacted me and was like, oh, you should join this federation, which was called the UKBFF, but now they're separated from the IFBB Pro League. But they used to be how you got to the Pro League in the UK. And I joined them, and 2 weeks later, and came second in their UK nationals, and coming second qualified me for their British finals in the September. So I kind of was like, oh God, now I've got to just keep going with this. Yeah.
So is competing it's a little bit different in the UK, isn't it, than here? Even in on the pro level, is the posing a little bit different for you guys?
I don't think it should be.
Or,
it's not meant to be, but maybe.
On the amateur level, maybe, or no?
No, it shouldn't be, but I do know some people do crazy things and some posing is quite questionable, but yeah, it should all be the same. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking of I can't think of now who her name is. She's a posing coach that I don't remember. Maybe she works for a different federation, because
yeah, there's quite a few federations over here and they have different types of posing styles for sure. Yeah.
Okay, because I've seen more like stuff that is more like some of the natural federations that we have that are more like the T-walk, and there's
yeah. So my first ever competition, it was a big T-walk, yeah, all the way to the front, all the way to the end, and all the way to the you're on stage for ages. It was great. But yeah, other federations do that, but Two Bros, which is the art version of the NPC, it should be exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So 2014, you win.
Yeah.
And so what happens from there?
So I actually entered 2 categories. There was bikini, which is the one I cared about the most, and then they had one called beauty, and I won that as well. So I got this double win, and I was like, oh my gosh, what on earth? And my mum had, like, in the boot of her car, the trunk, as you would call it, loads of like muffins and cake, and I was just eating, and that's all I cared about was eating. And she's like, so are you going to do another one? And I was like, no, I've done it. I've ticked off my New Year's resolution. I've got my trophy. I'm not interested in doing another one. And then obviously when that guy reached out and said, oh, you really should because you're already ready, blah, 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 that's what made me kind of carry on. So I don't know if I would have done, because I was like, oh, I've won it, what more do I need to do? Yeah, so after that, then obviously I kept competing and in tons of competitions, like the British finals, the Arnold Europe, obviously the amateur version. And then I kept going, and it took me a while to get another win. I think it was the following year, because I kept getting feedback that my quads were too big. And obviously I was just training really hard, didn't really think about what I was training. I just trained everything and loved it. And then I realized, oh, I can grow muscle quite easily. For some reason, obviously I'm fortunate that my body's just built that way, I guess, and newbie gains. And I got bigger and bigger legs, and they kept saying, oh no, you need to be careful because you're bikini. And I really didn't want to stop training legs, but I did. I stopped training legs. I started doing long distance running, and I found myself becoming really, really miserable. I was like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be training like this. This isn't what I signed up for. And then I won another bikini show, and I decided that would be my last bikini show. And I qualified for the British finals, qualified for the Arnold Europe, and I asked them if I could change to fitness. And they were like, absolutely yes, because obviously I started to learn more about the other divisions and discovered there was this division called fitness where you could do a routine. And I was like, that makes sense. I'm a performer. I get to prance around on stage twice, basically, and I can have bigger legs and more muscle and not worry about, you know, training hard in the gym and growing. So that was then when I transitioned over to fitness and did a few fitness competitions, and then eventually did the Arnold USA and won the overall and got my pro card.
What year was that you got your pro card?
2017.
Okay. All right. So did you pick up a coach along the way there, or were you self-coached?
So I self-coached for most of my bikini comps, and then I think I joined one team in the UK literally for like a couple of weeks. Can't really remember why. Maybe I got too big in my off season or something and thought, oh my God, I need someone to kick me up the butt. So I toyed around like with a few different coaches, but I'm kind of one of those sorts of people that when I know how I want to do something and I know I can do it myself, I'm probably a bit annoying to coach, to be honest, because I think I know it all. But obviously, I definitely didn't know it all. But yeah, I had a few coaches, but it was only once I got my pro card and realised part of my prize from winning the Arnold Amateur Overall was to then you get the opportunity to compete at the Arnold Pro Show the following year. That's one of the most amazing parts of winning that show, is such an awesome prize. Not only do you win loads of goodies in your pro card, you literally get to step on stage at the Arnold as a pro. I was like, okay, I've got like under a year and I don't want to look stupid. So then I contacted Whitney Jones, of course.
Oh, of course.
And she became my coach. Yeah, her and her business partner, Damien, the Pro Physiques, they're called. Yeah, so I got her on board and yeah, went from there.
That's amazing. So so you just love it, and it was kind of in your blood with all the dancing. I mean, it's not like soccer or track or something, but obviously working your body since you were very young. So yeah, the epigenetics is still the base for building muscle, I think.
Absolutely. And for posing as well. Like posing for me comes so naturally. I don't really practice my posing ever. I mean, sometimes when I do my check-in, then I pose, but because I'm performing every weekend, and that's something for me personally that I find so easy. And I know a lot of the fitness girls, it's funny because they dread the physique round. And that's actually, I don't know, probably my favorite because I'm not nervous at all.
That's awesome. So, so when was your first pro win that brought you to the Olympia?
So obviously I competed in my first pro show, which was the Arnold America, and come second to Whitney. So she was my coach and I came second in my pro debut and was like, what? Like the video, I love watching the video back because I'm genuinely like shocked beyond belief. And then 2 weeks later did the Arnold Australia, won that and qualified for the Olympia.
Nice. That's awesome. So how many Olympias have you done now at this point?
Only one. Yeah. I've qualified for 4, but only done 1.
Oh my goodness. What kept you from going to the other ones? Was there
2018 I did it. 2019 I decided to get married, which obviously ended in divorce a year later, so that was great. Yeah, so I got married, and then 2020 I didn't bother because of COVID. And then 2021 I qualified, but there was still travel restrictions, and if I would have wanted to go, I would have had to pay out my own pocket to go to like Dubai or somewhere for 2 weeks before, and it's just too much money, too much time off work. Like it's a lot to ask. I know they pay obviously for your flight and accommodation for like 3 nights, but not for 2 weeks. So missed it because of COVID. And then this year I was all ready for it and my boob swelled up and had to have an operation. So yeah.
Well, so let's talk about that a little bit. I was honestly, this is just like the mom and me being like so concerned, seeing like, you were posting it on social media, and I mean, we're grateful because, everybody was wondering what was going on, but yeah. So your breast implant ruptured, right? So tell us.
Both were ruptured in the end. Like, yeah. So I'll cut the story short because it's so long, and I've documented it all on YouTube if anyone's obviously interested in the whole story. But yeah, basically I just randomly woke up one morning, and in the night I was kind of like, oh, my boob feels kind of hard, but I thought maybe I was just laying funny. Woke up and I was like, looked at my boyfriend and I was like, does my boob look bigger? It feels harder. He's like, Yeah, it does look a bit bigger. Unfortunately, I've always kept in really good contact with my plastic surgeon. So I literally have him on Instagram, and I just messaged him a photo and was like, Naveen, I think my boob is bigger and it's swollen and it's hard. And he was like, right. And he arranged for me to see him the next day, which was really good. And he had a look and he said, right, I don't think it's anything sinister, but there is this really, really, really rare type of cancer you can get from breast implants. So we need to really push this and get you seen ASAP. And obviously we have what's called the NHS here in the UK, where we can just go ahead and get our healthcare and everything for free. I mean, we pay like money into it every year and stuff, but it's but it's kind of, I don't want to bash them, but they weren't the best. They didn't really I had a holiday booked as well, like a few days later, and I didn't want to not go on my holiday, but my mum was like, you need to cancel your holiday. I was like, no, I'm going. And my boob just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But the NHS had to see me within 2 weeks because obviously it was classed as like urgent. So when I got back, I saw them and they did scans, like ultrasounds, and they couldn't really see anything because there was so much fluid. They drained loads of the fluid and were meant to send it off for certain tests, which was a bit like they did and they didn't. And at no point did they scan my other boob, the non-swollen boob. But yeah, basically, long story short, my surgeon did his own tests for me and to check it wasn't an infection because he didn't want to operate if there was an infection. So fast forward like 8 weeks, had surgery, not knowing what was going on, and they were both ruptured, like really ruptured.
My goodness.
So he replaced them with nice new ones, and so far so good, all healing well. And then he sent off some of my tissue to be tested for that rare type of cancer, which has all come back. There's no signs of it. So I think it just swelled up because it was like, right, let's tell her that they're ruptured or something. I don't know. But it's weird only one like swelled up. But yeah, it was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So yeah.
So you're not experiencing any issues from the ruptures now at this point? You're fine?
No, like, yeah, they're all healing fine. I had the surgery 3 weeks ago and it's all good. Obviously I'm meant to be taking it easy, but I did go back to work 4 days later because I'm a workaholic and, you know, we have to have money, right? But I did have some side effects that were a little bit concerning. Like I was having night sweats every single night, which is not something I usually ever experience. My appetite has like gone. But then obviously I'm not training and I wasn't training quite as much. So maybe it's to do with that and a few other things, but all the results coming back fine. So hopefully, you know, that's a bit done now. And I've just got to be a bit patient and wait until I can train again properly and just carry on as normal.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about your job.
So I am a burlesque performer and singer and fire eater, all-round entertainer, really. Yeah, so I do like cabaret shows every weekend. And obviously it's December now, so Christmas is crazy busy. We have shows all during the week as well. And then, so alongside my performing, I do obviously some online coaching as well and help people with their, you know, fitness journeys, whether it's weight loss or competing as well. So all good fun.
Nice. Well, you know, I wanted to let me go to your Instagram a minute and we can look at I have to log in.
It's kicked you out.
I know. Here we go. All right, let's find you here. I know that do you have video of your fire eating on here at all on your Instagram?
I must do. Yeah, I think if you go to videos or reels, and there should be one like a little way down. If you keep going there in the gold. So can you see that? Just go across.
Yeah.
No, up. You should see it in my mouth on the front picture.
Why am I not? Oh, we're here.
Yeah, there's one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You didn't learn that in dance school. Where did you?
Hell no.
That's amazing. Who taught you that?
Well, I literally, when was it? I think one of my seasons I did in Ibiza years and years ago. I was dancing and performing out there, and I think it was another performer. She was like dancing with fire, and she was like, "Here, just hold these little, they're like called fire palms." And she's like, just dance with them and get used to having the fire in your hands. And then from there, she was kind of like, right, I'm going to show you how to do body burning. And it's just like a confidence thing, really. And then over time I started trying the eating and then holding it in my mouth and stuff like that, and it's, I guess it's a lot easier than you think it would be, but yeah, it
It's
kind of just, that happens a lot with other performers. You kind of hang out and learn skills off each other, and yeah, that's kind of how I started fire eating, yeah, on my season in Ibiza.
That's so funny. It reminds me of some of the fitness girls talk about how performing stunts, that some of the easiest stunts are the ones that look the most impressive.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, yeah, a lot of those girls that are gymnasts or ex-gymnasts, they could probably do some of those stunts in their sleep. Like when I do my one like backflip, my standing back tuck, that for me is like such a big deal when I put that in my routine, when I practice it and when I do it. And I just think, God, some of these girls probably think, oh my God, that's like the easiest thing in the world for them. But, you know, it's all relative, isn't it? Like their skills that look crazy hard, yeah, they find really easy. And then my skill that's probably not that hard, I find obviously really challenging. So, yeah. But it's
Well,
the same, like a lot of them really struggle with the performance side of things and the facial expressions and things like that. Whereas for me, that just comes really naturally.
here we go. Here's your, you called it gigantoboob or
Yeah, well,
something.
that one was after that had been drained, so that had already had like hundreds of milliliters drained from it. So that's not even as big as it got.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
it's mental, absolutely mental.
Oh gosh. Here, I can't.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I can't get off this picture. Let's try to.
Yeah, and that was me at work, and I just had to put my hair over. I carried on working, but obviously where I do burlesque, I'm in nipple tassels and small costumes, and obviously I felt so self-conscious, but I just sort of put all my hair over one side, so I could still work. But yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad that you're healthy and they took care of it and you're feeling a whole lot better.
Yes, it was such a stressful like 8 or 9 weeks, but yes, coming out the other side now, so it's all good.
Yeah. So here's a little bit of your journey, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is so awesome. So what's the plan? You're just gonna kind of wait and see how you're feeling and then
Yeah, so I've got to be really careful now with how I train moving forwards, because my surgeon actually thinks the ruptures are from training so hard and so much, because obviously my implants are basically under the muscle. He's got a fancy name for it where they're kind of under and then they're not at the bottom, but it's pretty much under the muscle. And obviously it's, they have to do that if you don't have a lot of tissue to start with, and also it gives like a more natural look, and there's less likely to be complications with things like this thing called capsular contracture and stuff like that. But there's also cons. So yeah, if you obviously train hard, you know, they can sort of move. They don't move out of place, but like obviously if you're training you can kind of see them move a little bit, but I've never cared about that. But he did tell me 7 years ago, don't ever train chest again. And I didn't, you know, I didn't need to, I didn't care to do it at all. But then obviously I love doing things like press ups and pull ups. And then once I was in the fitness division, you've got to do this crazy hardcore routine. So obviously I did start doing more conditioning, more press ups and the push flies and the combos. You know, we don't just do press ups normally, do we? We do kind of crazy types of press ups. And then obviously started doing gymnastics. And then a couple of years ago, I probably just got a bit complacent and I really wanted to try powerlifting because I love doing squats, heavy deadlifting. And I started to do bench press, and I'd never really bothered doing it before. And only the last couple of years, obviously, I was hitting big numbers, especially for a girl my size, and did a couple of competitions in powerlifting. And I probably shouldn't really have done that, but obviously I know hundreds of girls with breast implants over and under the muscle, and I've never heard of anyone having any issues from training. And obviously I never had any problems myself for the whole 7 years. But that's kind of all my surgeon can really put it down to is, you know, yeah, potentially the brand of implants, you know, could be made better perhaps as well. But yeah, just the constant wear and tear, the constant pressure. So moving forwards, obviously I'm probably going to be extra paranoid now, and I will never train chest again. I'll never bench press again, which is fine. You know, I've done the powerlifting, been there, done that, tick that off. It was just for fun. But obviously I will still need to do my routine if I carry on with fitness. So I think I'll just have to sort of scale back how much I practice, like my push-up combos and things like that. And I had wanted to kind of take a break from competing this year. I wanted to do like one more Olympia and then maybe call it a day. Obviously never say never, you know, might have done it in a few years' time, but I did kind of want to step away from it because I just don't feel like I am going to be that competitive in it for much longer, because I'm natural, so I don't take any enhancement steroids or anything, and I can't compete against some of the girls that are a lot bigger than me. And to be fair, you know, their skills are a lot better than mine in terms of like gymnastics, so you know, things change and what they go for is different sort of year to year, especially from when I first won. It's definitely evolved and changed. So, but now obviously I couldn't do that final Olympia. I'm like, oh, do I do one more year and then kind of walk away? So I don't know, because I was really happy with how I did at the Arnold this year. I came 4th. I was really happy with that because the year previous I came 8th. So obviously I came 2nd in 2018. Then I came 5th in 2019. Then I came 8th in 2020. Then I didn't do 2021. And then I've come 4th again. So that's been quite nice. And for me, that felt like a win, you know? So I don't know if this all happened for a reason and it's a sign to be like, just leave it there, like leave it on that high, or whether I, you know, should push on just for one more competitive year, maybe do one more Olympia and then call it there. So I'm undecided. I have applied for the Arnold again. Obviously, I think it's like 12 weeks away. So they usually release the list mid-December. So I guess once the list comes out, I'll make that decision as to whether I'll do the Arnold in March and then what I'll do next year. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've got one more year in me. We'll see.
That's really great. It does these things to kind of make you think about the direction that your life is going to go, doesn't it?
And I do like I said, I like being petite. Like I like being a small woman. I do, you know, like that's obviously why I started in bikini, and obviously it's for my job as well. I don't want to be huge in my job. You know, I don't want to be like super muscly. Like personally, I just don't, you know, I'm really quite content. And I don't think many people can say this because a lot of people have mega body dysmorphia in the bodybuilding world, but I have been quite content with my muscle mass for the last several years. Like genuinely, I've liked how I look. So I don't want to grow, you know, I don't want to get bigger. I really don't. I'm happy maintaining. And if anything, sometimes I am at work and I'm getting ready for a show and I'm getting really lean and I think, God, I look too muscly and I look too lean and I don't like it.
It's really funny. Yeah, you're right. Most people just want to keep growing and getting bigger and bigger. And the division keeps, you know, the sport keeps growing and everyone keeps getting bigger and more conditioned. And so, I mean, this is happening with a lot of women in the, you know, in all the categories.
Absolutely. No, you're right. It is happening with them. Like if you look back at like figure, for example, and you look at Errington, who's now bikini,
right,
and what she looked like when she won the Olympia twice, I think she looked phenomenal, but she would not stand a chance in figure now. Like it's mental. It is mental.
Yeah, I know. I remember when Nicole Wilkins, one of the last years that she won, and I just thought, wow, she's really muscular. And she just, you know, then like I think the next year she got like 5th or something.
Yeah.
So yeah. They're really going for freaks now. It's a little
Yeah.
bit different with your division because a lot of the judging is based off the performance. So
Yeah. I think sometimes it depends on the show though. Sometimes I do think once they've done the physique round, they kind of score the routines the same as the physique round, unfortunately. But that's just because I think some judges maybe aren't as clued up on the fitness routine round. Like it's hard, when a lot of the judges are bodybuilders and they don't necessarily know what they're looking for in a fitness routine. But I know obviously people like Sandy is always pushing for them to, be knowledgeable and judge it correctly. But yeah, sometimes you do see, like, there's been a few times in the European shows where the top three in the physique has been the exact same in the routine, and that never usually happens, especially in the American shows. It's usually like all over the place, which is what's so awesome about fitness, because you just never know what's going to happen. But yeah, it is nice that we have the fitness routine round being 2/3 of the score, because yeah, lots of the smaller girls can still, be up there.
yeah. What are your stats? Like what is your height and weight for stage for the most part?
So I'm like 5'3", maybe 5'3.5". And on stage, I'm about 123 pounds was my last stage weight. But yeah, I remember my 2018 show was like 115 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
It's funny that you said that about the judging. I had always thought like more on the amateur level, sometimes you get like there's no like I judged for a year in 2015 and there's no like class to renew every year. You're just like once you know how to do it, you like know how to do it. And I think you're right. Some of these I don't know how it is necessarily on the pro level, but I think some of the NPC level judges don't always keep up, especially these guys with the women's divisions about what
Yeah.
they're looking for always.
Yeah, definitely. I think Sandy did try to change things for fitness at the beginning of the year, and she came out with a different score sheet for fitness. I know that they were trying to push that, so I think that happened, and it basically made it a lot clearer for judges to score each part. Like they had like a column, so it's split into 5, I believe, where they had a column for gymnastics, then they have a column for performance, column for strength, column for flexibility, and then one for like the overall performance and the look. I think they did change it, so hopefully for maybe the judges that aren't so sure, it's like they can be a bit clearer with how they judge it. So
yeah, and I like it is interesting because I wouldn't even know, and I think I hopefully would be so entranced with the performance that I would forget about.
That's what I try and do. I just try and put on a show that I like kind of blind them so they miss the fact that I'm not doing loads of flips. Because in theory, that's not, we don't have to put flips in, but obviously when you're up against girls that can do all these flips and tumbles, you've got to do something that's as impressive as that in some other way. But it's hard.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, your category is definitely, we've talked about this so many times. I mean, Whitney and Ariel have all talked about how it's just extremely taxing to try to perform at that level of depletion. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, well, whatever happens, I hope that everything goes well for you and obviously health first. So, yeah. Do you have time for a couple of fun questions before we go?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So what is your favorite and least favorite thing about social media?
My favorite thing about social media, probably the amount of support you get from complete strangers. It's lovely. Like there's been, especially through like some of my hard times, people are really, you can sometimes talk to your Instagram almost, I guess, like a diary almost, and it's so nice when you notice all these people seem to really care about what you have to say or what you're going through, and they can message some really nice things sometimes. Sometimes they're like more supportive than people that you considered friends in the real world. So yeah, I think that, and obviously being able to share things with people kind of all over the world, that's really cool. and hopefully, you know, inspire other people, encourage other people to be healthier or fitter or go and do whatever they want to do in life. And yeah, I like that, like inspiring other people and motivating other people. So yeah. And then the least favorite thing is the fakeness, probably. There's a lot of, and some of these like weird trends, and I think that's quite scary for younger people especially. Like I worry for my like nephew, for example, and when he eventually gets a phone and maybe social media, I'm like, oh gosh. I hate filters. I hate them. I won't use them. I do not use filters. I just think they're awful because everyone's trying to be this weird image of what they think's perfection, and it's bizarre. So yeah, probably that, the amount of crap out there, I guess, and so many people believe so much of this stuff, and I think that's scary as well. They get sucked into a lot of BS on there.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can put anything out there and it doesn't have to be right or true.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, absolutely. What is your, not now currently, I guess, but what does your training split look like?
So usually I do like back twice a week. Well, I used to try and do back twice a week because that's kind of what I needed to grow, but I hate training back. I really don't like it. So once or twice a week back, shoulders just for one session, and then legs, either do like hamstrings and glutes, or yeah, quad session, or I'll sometimes split it more like powerlifting and do like squat day and then a deadlift day. And then obviously a day for gymnastics. I'll either go and see my gymnastics coach and do an hour session with him, or just do my own thing. So yeah, usually 5 to 6 sessions a week, split up like that. And I don't train arms or chest.
No chest. No chest.
No chest.
So are you still kind of doing not really powerlifting, but I just feel like UK training is like, I mean, y'all are such badasses. You're always lifting very heavy. Is that just kind of how it is over there, or?
I don't know. I don't think so. I only used to go heavy with my deadlift and squat, like, because I found that really enjoyable. I loved seeing the numbers go up, and it was more like off season, when you're carrying a little bit more weight as well. It's just so fun. I just enjoyed getting stronger. I love being strong. But yeah, mainly with my squat and deadlift, and obviously at the time bench as well. But I don't tend to go crazy heavy on anything else. I don't push it. I won't compromise my form or anything. I'm not going to be shoulder pressing like crazy numbers, just because I think that's when you do your neck in and stuff like that. And like I said, I don't particularly want to grow anyway. So yeah, I don't generally train crazy heavy. No, so I don't think it's everyone here. I do see some people, I know what you mean though. Some people are like, I feel sorry for their bodies. I'm like, oh damn, they're gonna pay for that when they're older.
Yeah, they wreck themselves.
Yeah, that's it. There's a fine line, and like as well, people overtraining as well. I have really realized that since having my, I guess, injury or whatever, and taking time away from the gym, I've actually lost weight. Like I've lost weight, and let's be honest, I can't really lose that much muscle, especially like I said, being natural, I'm only going to lose like a couple pounds of muscle. It's not going to be anything crazy. So I've actually lost weight, not going to the gym. I've not been doing loads of cardio. I've not been like consciously dieting. I'm just intuitive eating. And I just think, wow, I think because my hunger used to be insane. Like for the last however many years, my boyfriend was like, every other word that comes out your mouth is I'm hungry, or words, I'm hungry. He's like, you're always hungry. My mum was the same. She's like, you're always hungry. And honestly, I used to think, one day am I just going to not feel hungry, because this is horrible. It's like torture. I'm always hungry. And it's gone. And it's weird. And I thought, oh, maybe it's something to do with, what I was going through. But no, I think it's because I'm not training as much. So I'm not as hungry, but I'm still losing weight. So I definitely think I have been massively overtraining. massively overtraining, overdoing the cardio, overtraining in the gym, and then I've been so hungry that I'm then probably overeating, so then it's harder to kind of diet and lose weight. It's bizarre. It's fascinating how it all works, but I think going forwards I'm definitely going to train less. I'm probably going to just train 3 to 4 times a week, and really focus on rest and recovery, and hopefully my insane appetite doesn't come back, because it's great not being hungry all the time.
Funny. I think this is honestly something a lot of women who are listening can benefit from hearing, just because I think, a lot of them think, oh, I need to train more. I need to train every day. And
I used to think that too. And it's honestly, you don't there's some really good, I know there's so many people out there with so much, everyone's got conflicting information, but there's one guy, Jeff Nippard, I think his name is, and I find his stuff really, really good. And it's all quite science-based and stuff. And he's put out a video not that long ago, and it said about how much you actually need to train and how much you actually need to do to grow or even to maintain. And it's so much less than you think. It really, really is. I do think, like I said, rest and recovery, rest and sleep is when you're growing. So why are people skimping out on that part?
That's really funny. I know I've noticed that in the last year or so, just taking, I definitely am more in a retired state. And once you built that base too, especially, you can train 2 or 3 days a week. And
I think that's the thing as well. Obviously I'm speaking for myself and my body type. And like I said, I am fortunate enough that I grow muscle quite easily and quite a lot, so I know obviously there are people out there that really struggle to build, but I still don't think they need to train more. I just think they need to train smarter, and they do need to take more rest in between sets and push themselves, go heavier. So I think a lot of people probably don't go as heavy as they could without going so heavy, the people that we think are gonna snap their heads off or whatever, but I think, if they don't have a spot there, then they're probably a bit nervous to push themselves past their sort of set point. But obviously for people that struggle to build muscle, they just need to be patient, and it's consistency. Like you said, even if you're training 3 times a week, if you're consistently training 3 times a week, you're still going to make progress.
There's a lot of women I know that I think they think that the building happens with the training, and the building happens in the recovery, the healing is when the building happens.
And obviously eating properly, if they're trying to grow, and people that are sort of naturally really, really slim, they're going to have to push themselves slightly out of their comfort zone and eat a bit more than say people like me, where I can't eat as much food. But it's quite interesting.
I heard this phrase, it makes me think of this, women want to try to burn as many calories as possible to try to lose weight if they're trying to lose weight. And like you said, they don't rest between sets enough. They're always supersetting things and everything. And this saying said, I heard said, you can't bake a cake faster by turning up the oven twice as high.
It's just gonna get burnt, and that's what's gonna happen to you. You're gonna get burnt out, or you're gonna be so hungry that you end up constantly hungry, and then eating, and then probably overeating, and then it's mental, really.
It is mental. What's your favorite cheat meal, or sort of off the diet?
Plenty, but my favorite is pizza. Absolutely, pepperoni pizza, cheese stuffed crust, and then I get this Domino's here in the UK do a tub of white cookies, is it cookies and cream, Magnum ice cream, and it you squeeze it and it cracks all the white chocolate. Oh, it's so good. And I have the Domino's cookies with it. I have that at least once a week, and I still have been losing weight. That's what's mental. I'm 3 pounds off my stage weight right now. It's absolutely insane. But and I have that at least once a week. I usually have a cheat meal twice a week. So pizza all the way.
That's so great. Is it easy for you to stick to your diet? Has that always been kind of easy for you?
It's not always been easy. No, I definitely have had that whole experience with eating disorders and everything. That started from when I was younger and I wanted to be a ballet dancer. And I was kind of on the brink of anorexia. But I didn't really realize that I was doing it. So it wasn't like on purpose. And I was quite young. I was maybe like 10 or 11. And I just, was like seeing, like, I used to go on these forums with other ballet girls and stuff. And I just remember I just kind of lost my appetite and I just wouldn't eat as much. And I guess, yeah, I wanted to just be as sort of skinny as possible. But I'm not built the right way for ballet anyway, unfortunately. And then I was in a really good place prior to competing. I'd started to become really conscious about my health and eating the right things, drinking more water, all stuff like that. And then I got into competing. And I always used to say competing ruined my relationship with food. Like, it really did. And I don't regret anything in life, but I used to sometimes, on those days where I was like so hungry, I used to think, like, why am I doing this? Why did I ever get into competing? I'm, like I said, I always thought, am I just going to be hungry for the rest of my life? Like, always thinking about food. And fortunately, over the years, I've got better and better. Obviously, I went through those standard binging after shows and then gaining, too much weight. And then I would purge. I would basically be in the gym trying to burn like 1,000 calories on the arc trainer. I'd be there for like an hour and a half. It was just messed up, really. But I was always kind of honest about it. Would speak to my mum about it, and my partner and stuff. And eventually, like, I have yo-yoed quite a lot, with shows up and down. And then, yeah, I think the last few preps I've done, I've not gained anywhere near as much weight. Like, even at my biggest, I never really get that big, to be honest, because of work, really. I've got to stay quite, trim. But the last few years, I've taken more control. It was actually ever since I started doing flexible dieting and, macro tracking and being able to enjoy like chocolate every day without feeling bad about it. Yeah. I found that I was better in off season. I still would, gain more weight than I wanted to sometimes. But then, yeah, this last year, this prep was great. And I didn't really gain too much weight at all this year. And then, yeah, I think with everything that's happened, again, like, maybe it happens for a reason. Like, yeah, my appetite seems to be like a normal human now, and my weight is like, I can't believe how light I am right now. It blows my mind. I'm like, how am I so light? And I think maybe I'm like, I've managed to figure it out, but it's taken me 8 years or more of up and down and working it out to get to this point. And it does scare me, the thought of prepping again. It always scares me a little bit because I'm like, oh, am I going to have to start again? But at least I know it always, after about 6 months to a year, I kind of get back to homeostasis and I'm all right again. So yeah.
I think that's very relatable. Having a healthy relationship with food definitely changes your perspective on it. And I think same for me, 10 years or so of being in the bodybuilding industry and competing and working towards that, you looked at food black and white, like this is clean, this is dirty. And it's
not the way to live, is it? And that's part of the reason why I wanted to step away, is because I was fed up of thinking like that and feeling like that. And once I was in this kind of good spot with my food and my relationship with food and even training, I was like, oh, I don't want to undo that. And I feel like competing is risky and it could undo that. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to feel that way. So that was another reason why I did think, like, as you get older, unfortunately, it's one of those things, I hate it, and like, oh, when I was younger, but it's true, as you get older, you learn, you're constantly learning, and you do start to look at things a bit differently, and you do start to think, like, I've still got goals and dreams and ambition, but sometimes that changes and your goals change, and that's all right, and I just think, like I said, my main thing was, I just don't want to feel starving all the time, and I don't want to be missing out on things. I've done that for so long and I've loved it, but sometimes I do just want to have a pizza, with my boyfriend, or just just not have to say no to things, really. And I'm not like, you know, I don't eat rubbish all the time, I don't drink or anything, I don't party, so it's not that, it's just being, I don't want to ever be normal either, but it's a little bit of normal would be nice.
Yeah, not to be so regimented.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot when you know, clients or potential clients will message and they're like, you know, I want to compete, and you know, you read all the things that they're talking about, and I think a lot of women just want to have a healthy relationship with food, and a good, you know, a good relationship with their body, like looking at what they see when they look in the mirror. So I'm like, I don't think you want to compete. I think you want exactly what you were saying, what you have found now stepping away from it all, is that sort of balance that's really hard to find when you're in the thick of it, you know?
Yeah, because realistically, when you're on prep, there is no balance. Like, you can try, you can, like I said, you know, when I started macro tracking and flexible dieting, you almost have a little bit more of a balance than if you're doing the old school bro diet, because it means you can eat out and just order plain chicken or, you know, whatever. But it still is definitely not balanced. It can't be. When you're doing something so extreme and you're putting like 100% into it, you can't be balanced. So yeah, it is nice to finally, feel like you can have balance. But yeah, competing and balance, they don't go in the same sentence at all. But like you said about clients, I actually have an email that when someone messages me about competing, I literally send them a scary email, and I'm like, right, just so you're aware, this is what could be like, this is what could happen. Do you still want to compete? And I try and almost put them off. And if they still want to do it, then I'm like, right, okay, well, I've kind of pre-warned you what could happen, you know. But to be fair, I say to them as well, I say they have to stay with me after the prep for at least a month, because I want to help them, because I'm like, post show, trust me, is way harder than show prep. So
yeah, I know. I'm always like, you probably, you don't want to lose 20 pounds and then gain 20 pounds.
Exactly.
What you want is to lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
That's it.
Yeah, and prep is going to do
the opposite. If not, loads of people, I see it, that they gain more than when they started. And I'm like, that's not what you wanted to do. And it's the same thing when people come to me, they're like, oh, I've got this thing in 6 weeks and I want to lose this much. And I'm like, right, well, let's be sensible here. Let's lose a little bit by then and then keep going. And then you're more likely to keep it off. So
yeah, I know, it's fascinating. And yeah, like you said, I don't have anything against this sport or prep or anything like that. People need to be aware of what they're stepping into, because
and it's the same with any, you know, extreme sport or anything that's competitive. You're never, like, you know, you're never going to have balance in anything, you know, like, you know, people that run marathons, you know, they're getting to a point where they're unhealthy, and it's the same with anything. You have to put 100% into it, and that means sacrifice. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, Kate, this has been so fun, and I really appreciate you, you know, being here when I messed up the time zones.
That's all right. Thanks for having me. But no, to be fair, one of my clients, Corinne, she's actually competing at the Olympia in fitness. It's her first time, and it's so nice. It's my first client at the Olympia, which is pretty cool. She is American, but she lives in Korea, and we try and do, like, we meet up on like FaceTime for her fitness routine, and trying to do the times. Bless her. I think she did it the other day. She was like, oh no, I've messed up the time. And like, it was an hour wrong. And I was like, it's okay. I can get on my laptop now. So I'm used to it.
Well, that's good. It always confuses me, especially if somebody says like, I'm ahead of you or behind you. And I'm like, what does that mean?
And then we have like our clocks go forward and back, and then some places in America they don't. Like, I know in Arizona they don't change. So sometimes if I'm like chatting with Whitney, sometimes she's 7 hours, sometimes she's 8 hours or 6 hours, I don't know, but
yeah, Whitney always says Arizona time, because it doesn't change.
Exactly, it stays the same. So
oh, Kate, what is your, you know, if you wanted to give a message to the women listening, any final words about bodybuilding or the sport or life or being a woman?
I think you have to you can take advice off of people, but I think just be careful who you take your advice off, and always do your own research and do what you want to do and not what anyone else is telling you to do. Don't let anyone pressure you into making decisions you might not want to take or make. And what else was I going to say? Remember that with like bodybuilding and stuff, it's so easy to get like wrapped up in like social media or other people in the gym or whatnot, but you have to live with your body 365 days of the year, and getting on stage is just like 10 minutes. So I think it's just remembering that as well. Like, you've got to be happy with your body and obviously your mindset and everything else in your life for the whole year. So just take that into account when, if you decide to compete, or if you're changing categories, or how far you want to push it. I think just, take advice off of the right people, do your own research, and just make sure you're happy and enjoying it and you're doing it for you.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. Kate, where can people find you or get a hold of you if they want to follow the rest of your journey? Where's the best place?
I have a website, which is kateerrington.com, or Instagram at Kate Errington. In American, we say full stop, Kate full stop Errington. And then I've got a YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Kate Errington. They're probably the best 3 places to find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for your time and for joining us today. Thanks to everyone for listening and watching to another episode of The Women's Fittest. You can find us on Instagram at The Women's Fittest. You can follow me on Instagram at buffcake22 and listen wherever you find podcasts. And remember that healthy looks different on everybody. Have a great day.